This is a simple pine box made with a locked dado joint and cut open using a Japanese handsaw. So in my previous box making video, I made this one. This is made using just nails, no glue, and butt joints. And then I thought, how can I keep it relatively simple, yet introduce some new techniques, some new tools, and make something functional and fun? And that's what I'm gonna make in this video. I used junk wood for this, scrap wood that I've actually used for other things in the past that was repurposed, and I would just use whatever wood you can get your hands on. It doesn't really matter. If possible, it's nice if the wood for the top and the bottom are a little bit thinner than the sides, because it makes for a sleeker looking box. But other than that, I mean, I would just use whatever you have. This wood is still basic, cheap, nothing fancy, and I'm not trying to make it something it is not. That's what it is. And there are like some screw marks and some knots and stuff like that. So this time I want to glue the top and the bottom onto the box, onto the sides of the box, and then once that's dry, I want to cut it open with a handsaw. Now this is a technique I've done many times on a table saw, but never by hand. It's like, while I like using nicer, like fancier hardwood, I think this kind of wood is really fun to work with because it is so light and you don't feel as precious with it. Like, it's not such a big deal if you mess up. Plus, it's such an accessible wood, especially with wood prices these days being really high. Buying a couple of boards of pine is not like out of the possibility for a lot of people. It's a little bit more easy to get your hands on. So I have the pieces cut out for the long sides. Now I need to cut the pieces for the short sides. So I'm just measuring out what they should be. Because I'm not using butt joints nor box joints, in which case the sides would have been the full length. But I'm going to be using a different joint. I'm going to cut a piece half in that's going to fit in half there. A locked dado joint like this is a pretty simple joint. You just cut a little section here, it fits into this piece right here, and it provides a lot of glue surface when you're gluing. When it's closed, however, the box, you wouldn't know it. It looks just like butt joints. So it's almost like a little surprise that only you know about, and maybe you're the only one appreciating it anyway. But you know it's there. I would say that this is the box for you if you're just starting out with hand tools, or if you just kind of feel like relaxing and not making anything too complicated or too serious. Because sometimes I think those are the best projects, because they really are the most fun. This locked dado joint, it's going to inset like this. So I need to carve out a section right here. Of course, the key is to keep your tools sharp. I like to use a strop to hone the blades, whether it's my marking knife, my chisels, my plane blades, and that's just a way to keep that edge sharp. So I have the joinery cut for the corners of the box. Now it's time to glue on the top and the bottom. But then I was thinking maybe I should glue together panels first. So I have like one panel for the top and one panel for the bottom. The thing about this box, like if your joinery isn't perfect on the sides, you're not going to see any of that anyway later on because it's all going to be covered by the top and the bottom. These side pieces here are just a touch taller than these pieces, so I think I'm gonna plane all these together so that they turn out to be exactly the same height. So at this point I have these pieces all the same height, I have my panels glued up, and now I'm gonna glue the whole box together. And the thing is, once I glue this together, I won't be able to see the inside. Good. Okay, good morning little box. You know, before I was gonna cut this box open, I know that there's nothing in it, but I also know that I glued it shut. So I'm like a little bit like a kid, like I can't wait to open the box to see what it looks like inside. Even though I know there's nothing in there other than maybe like some glue squeeze out, which there is. Then once the box was shut, of course I need to cut it open if I want to have a lid. And normally I would do that on the table saw or the router. And if you do that, you get the super crisp cut using power tools. But since I'm in my little shop here, I have no power tools here, or I don't want to use any power tools. I wanted to use just hand tools. So instead, I used a Japanese handsaw. And I was slightly nervous before starting. This is not that complicated, but you also don't want to mess up your nice box. But it was relatively simple. It's hard doing it just straight. Like I'm veering off just a touch. I'm adding a little piece of sandpaper here, fold it over, just to not pinch the blade. So there's a little bit of a separation. Should be about the same thickness as the saw. At least I know that if everything is bad, I can still plane it. I can hand plane it down and save it if I veer off too much. So I'm going off a little bit there. Let me see if that would be better off. Yep, it's a better line. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. You know, not bad. I mean, definitely a little bit coarse from the saw, but I can do this with a plane, so it's looking pretty good. The idea of closing a box together and then cutting it open to open it up, I mean, I think that's kind of neat. Ah, this looks good. You can see this nice joint. It's like if you want to have some fun with some hand tools and just practice, this is a great box for that. Pine is so much fun to use like this, a plane. I'm gonna make a mark exactly how far down I need to plane down everywhere. Here you can really see that there is a difference, and you don't see it when you're planing. You think it looks the same, but it's not. My only concern here is getting it to be even. I don't really care if I bring it down a bit in height, as long as both the lid and the box are even all throughout. This wood is pretty straight. Like if the wood was going more up and down, I would pay attention more to grain direction, but it works pretty well to plane in all directions here. I would say it's pretty perfect. I have some small, these are 1-inch hinges. Now the question is always, where do you put the hinges? See, you could carve out a section in here. That's a little bit more work though, so if you want to take the easy route, it's almost always easier to put them on the back. Now I think I'm gonna add a clasp to this box. I think that a box like this kind of needs that and keeps it a little bit more secure. I love opening it up though and seeing this little joint here. Just like a little reminder of the work that you did, the fact that it's holding together nicely, that it's glued together, it's one solid package. It's like I love a box like this that opens and the lid is like reflected like this. It looks seamless. I think that's what you get with a design like this when you glue the bottom and the lid onto the sides and then cut it open. I must say, using the Japanese handsaw worked perfectly for this application. As long as you make your marks and you try to follow that line, and if you come a little bit astray, you can always like flip it over and go from the other side. So you have a little bit of flexibility there. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments. Let me know if you decide to make something like this for yourself. I would love to see if you do. Please share with me on your social media. But yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye.